Welcome back. This is World News Today. I'm Michelle Hussein. A new global campaign has been launched to try to ensure equality for women in Muslim countries. Hundreds of Muslim women are meeting in Malaysia at the moment using interpretations of the Quran to support their call for legal reforms. Our correspondent Robin Brandt in Kuala Lumpur sent this report.
These women have come here and they are here in great numbers, over 200 from 49 different Islamic countries or communities, to push for one thing: the reform of family law. What they want is the recognition of women as equal partners. That is the crux of their campaign. But this may seem academic to some as we hear ongoing testimony about the extreme violence still faced by many Muslim women across the world. Those who face stoning to death. There are also those who face female genital mutilation as girls. But the organisers say what this is about is launching a global strategy, a grand plan, if you were, to try to change family law, a law that affects the lives of Muslim women across the world every day. And the first person I sat down with is Zaina Anwar. She's at the helm of this project, really. And we talked about the new organisation she's unveiling called Musawah, which is the Arabic word for equality.
We can no longer accept the discriminatory provisions in the Muslim family law, whether it's age of marriage, whether it's consent to marriage, whether it's the guardian for you to get married, whether the right to divorce. We cannot accept this inequality, right to guardianship, right to custody, all these unequal provisions that exist in many Muslim family laws. And we're pointing out that there are Muslim countries in which there are very good provisions that recognize equality. In many South Asian countries, a woman can marry without her guardian. Why can't, based on an Islamic teaching, based on the Hanafi school of law? There are many good practices within the Islamic tradition. Let us, if we want to use Islam as a source of law and public policy, let us look at all the diverse positions that exist and let us choose the best position that recognize the principles of equality and justice, which are Islamic principles.
Now, these women have come here to swap stories and tips, but what dominates is the ongoing testimony about the restrictions that some women still face in the Islamic world every day. And we're hearing from both extremes. We've heard from Afghanistan, where 99% of women don't attend their own wedding. They're not there in person to give consent to the man they will spend the rest of their lives with. At the other end of the scale, we're hearing from Canada, one of the West's most liberal societies, where there is a sizable Muslim immigrant population. And there are stories of Muslim men who are making the most of confusion about the law, telling Muslim women if they want a divorce, they must get the approval of a cleric, and that is not the case. Now, the second person I sat down with was Hatun Al-Fassi. She is a historian in Saudi Arabia, but also someone who's led public protest for women's rights. And she said it's important to focus on big change like family law, but also smaller symbolic reforms like the law in Saudi Arabia banning women from driving.
Actually, we touch upon all issues and subjects that relate and affect women's lives, the small and the big. And I think driving is an essential matter, and we still touch upon it and we discuss it in our different writings. But similarly, we also deal with lots of legal issues, and because we are having a kind of a little bit higher, let's say, ceiling or room for today for freer discussions especially on legal issues. We have this possibility of introducing many ideas. I'm not saying that we have the capacity to change the legal structure, but only by negotiating, by criticizing, by giving critiques, by giving solutions, by challenging their position and their decisions. These are ways of making a difference.
Now, the women who have come here know that this change will not happen overnight, but they are here because they feel it is achievable. But these reforms will come across generations. But many here are seeking great inspiration from Afghanistan, a country decimated by conflict over decades. But now it has a marriage contract which offers certain protection to Islamic women. And many people think if they can reform family law in Afghanistan, it's possible in any Islamic country across the world.
Robin Brandt reporting from Malaysia. Welcome back. This is World News Today. I'm Michelle Hussein. A new global campaign has been launched to try to ensure equality for women in Muslim countries. Hundreds of Muslim women are meeting in Malaysia at the moment using interpretations of the Quran to support their call for legal reforms. Our correspondent Robin Brandt in Kuala Lumpur sent this report.
These women have come here and they are here in great numbers, over 200 from 49 different Islamic countries or communities, to push for one thing: the reform of family law. What they want is the recognition of women as equal partners. That is the crux of their campaign. But this may seem academic to some as we hear ongoing testimony about the extreme violence still faced by many Muslim women across the world. Those who face stoning to death. There are also those who face female genital mutilation as girls. But the organisers say what this is about is launching a global strategy, a grand plan, if you were, to try to change family law, a law that affects the lives of Muslim women across the world every day. And the first person I sat down with is Zaina Anwar. She's at the helm of this project, really. And we talked about the new organisation she's unveiling called Musawah, which is the Arabic word for equality.
We can no longer accept the discriminatory provisions in the Muslim family law, whether it's age of marriage, whether it's consent to marriage, whether it's the guardian for you to get married, whether the right to divorce. We cannot accept this inequality, right to guardianship, right to custody, all these unequal provisions that exist in many Muslim family laws. And we're pointing out that there are Muslim countries in which there are very good provisions that recognize equality. In many South Asian countries, a woman can marry without her guardian. Why can't, based on an Islamic teaching, based on the Hanafi school of law? There are many good practices within the Islamic tradition. Let us, if we want to use Islam as a source of law and public policy, let us look at all the diverse positions that exist and let us choose the best position that recognize the principles of equality and justice, which are Islamic principles.
Now, these women have come here to swap stories and tips, but what dominates is the ongoing testimony about the restrictions that some women still face in the Islamic world every day. And we're hearing from both extremes. We've heard from Afghanistan, where 99% of women don't attend their own wedding. They're not there in person to give consent to the man they will spend the rest of their lives with. At the other end of the scale, we're hearing from Canada, one of the West's most liberal societies, where there is a sizable Muslim immigrant population. And there are stories of Muslim men who are making the most of confusion about the law, telling Muslim women if they want a divorce, they must get the approval of a cleric, and that is not the case. Now, the second person I sat down with was Hatun Al-Fasi. She is a historian in Saudi Arabia, but also someone who's led public protest for women's rights. And she said it's important to focus on big change like family law, but also smaller symbolic reforms like the law in Saudi Arabia banning women from driving.
Actually, we touch upon all issues and subjects that relate and affect women's lives, the small and the big. And I think driving is an essential matter, and we still touch upon it and we discuss it in our different writings. But similarly, we also deal with lots of legal issues, and because we are having a kind of a little bit higher, let's say, ceiling or room for today for freer discussions especially on legal issues, we have this possibility of introducing many ideas. I'm not saying that we have the capacity to change the legal structure, but only by negotiating, by criticizing, by giving critiques, by giving solutions, by challenging their position and their decisions. These are ways of making a difference.
Now, the women who have come here know that this change will not happen overnight, but they are here because they feel it is achievable. Well, these reforms will come across generations, but many here are seeking great inspiration from Afghanistan, a country decimated by conflict over decades, but now it has a marriage contract which offers certain protection to Islamic women. And many people think if they can reform family law in Afghanistan, it's possible in any Islamic country across the world.
Robin Brandt reporting from Malaysia.